Greetings, my magnificent friends. Sue Paulson here, your magnificence mentor. I'm coming from the Magnificence Lab with a little musing about the overwhelm of choices. This topic was on my mind today because of the confusion that I feel sometimes when I have all these options coming at me and I don't know what to pick. You know what I mean. You just go into the grocery store and you stand at the peanut butter aisle and look at the 27 different brands and varieties and choices you have. When I was growing up, you could choose smooth or crunchy. That was it. Well, what happens when we get overwhelmed by so many choices? I don't know about you, but I'm always afraid I'm going to make the wrong choice. There's this big fear. So it relates to so many facets of our lives these days, whether it's buying any kind of a product, a new car or a new house, any kind of a service, whether it's a marketing service or some great money-making opportunity that is touted as the best thing since sliced bread. It doesn't really matter which direction you took or you look, we're overwhelmed by choice. So in 1908, Henry Ford introduced the Model T. What was your choice of color? Black. You could have any color you wanted as long as it was black. So simple. You want a Model T, a Ford Model T? You're going to get a black one. Well, of course, along the way, as choice evolved and car manufacturers wanted to get a leg up on their competitors. Oh, well, you could have gray or you could have blue or you pick the color that you want. Well, now, I can't even begin to imagine how many choices there are on the color palette as they keep inventing new and different opportunities. Well, this creates such a tension. Now, you know that I'm all about creating heaven on earth for myself and encouraging you to create your own brand of heaven on earth based on the magnificence that you are on the planet. But what gets in the way is this little bit of hell that can come from having so many options that you don't know which way to turn. Sometimes the way we turn is to just walk right out of whatever scenario we're in and not choose at all. We just say no. No, I'm not picking. I'm not choosing. And we might miss out, but at least the anxiety is a little bit lower at that point in time. We don't feel so overwrought by everything that's coming at us. I know this can happen for us in a career sense, for example. So maybe you were scheduled to go to university. Well, it was reasonably simple when I had an opportunity to go to university because there weren't that many different streams that you could fall into. So if you had a literary bent, you would take maybe an English degree or a teaching degree. If you loved the sciences, then you could go into chemistry or biology or physics and so on from there. If you had a business bent, well, then there was a stream for that. But it was fairly simple in what you chose. Nowadays, I can't even imagine what students go through to try to make a decision based on all the opportunities that there are and the streams of possible careers and jobs and so on. Now, of course, if you're like me and you really have enjoyed an entrepreneurial focus, or maybe you're transitioning out of an everyday job and you've retired from that and you said, now I get to do what I really want to do, and you have this passion for making a difference in people's lives. Well, and you want it to be your own thing. Well, that brings its own brand of challenges as far as choices because, well, what kind of a business am I going to have? What are the modalities that I have to choose from if I want to serve? Let's say you want to be a coach. Well, what kind of a coach do you want to be? Do you want to be a financial coach? Do you want to be a health coach? Do you want to be a nutrition coach? Do you want to do personal development or whatever? So you have this myriad of choices that you're facing to say, "Oh, okay, how am I going to do this?" And well, I could pick that, but then I'd miss out on this. Well, I could pick this, but then I'd miss out on that. I felt that where oh no, I don't even, and so oh maybe I'll just go and sit on the couch and drink tea and forget about making any decision at this moment. And so we procrastinate, we put it off because we don't know what to pick. Of course, there are a plethora of people who will offer their services to guide you in one way or another. And that in itself lends to this overwhelm of choice. Who do you pick? Who do you listen to? Everybody is touted as an expert in so many different fields. So, well, this expert says this, but this one says this other. And it's a miracle to me that we even can get through the day with all the choices that we're bombarded with on an ongoing basis. Maybe our younger generation finds it easier because they grew up with that many choices, but I didn't grow up with that many choices. I had, it was, do you want peas or carrots for dinner? And there was one meat choice. There was no choice for meat. It was, okay, tonight we're having pork chops. You can have peas or carrots, and we're having potatoes, and that was it. And maybe there was one dessert. There wasn't a tray that you could say, oh well, honey, which dessert would you like? So it was, okay, I'm hungry, I'll eat what's here because that's all that's being offered. I watch my granddaughters who get sometimes overwhelmed. They'd say, I'm hungry, mommy. Well, what do you want to eat? They can't pick, they don't know. So, well, you pick for me, mommy. Yeah, well, like that's gonna work. And so I get the frustration and I see the overwhelm, and then so then they go off into a corner, hangry, they're so hungry, they're angry, but they don't know what to pick. And so it becomes this vicious circle. So there's a madness in that that just drives me around the bend some days. And we don't want to miss out. We want to be able to pick. I think so really what we want to look at is shifting from being overwhelmed by all those choices to move into a more focused position where we're saying, well, what if I only pick the things that I resonate with, that mean something to me? What if that's my starting point? So then, of course, if that's your starting point, then you go about thinking, okay, what matters to me? What's really important to me? What is it that I don't want to live without? What is it that if I had it, then I wouldn't regret not having it down the road? So it's a narrowing of choices where you say, okay, they do this in the dating world, right? The list of must-haves, nice-to-haves, and deal breakers. like like okay, he or she must be d d d d d d d, and it would be nice if they d d d d d, and a deal breaker would be this and this and this and this. So it clears up a lot of the confusion that comes from overwhelm, and it comes from all these choices that are in front of us. So one of the ways that's worked for me is to pay serious attention to what's in my heart and where I feel drawn, because then everything else just fades into the background. I don't pay attention to it because it's not important to me. And when we do that, then a lot of the smoke and mirrors just goes away, and we have clarity of vision as it's coming to us. So in focusing and narrowing down and saying, well, I'm only going to choose based on what I think will work for me. Might you be wrong? You might, but there's learning in that too. And of course we can always pick again. If whatever we chose the first time wasn't quite it, we can always make adjustments, we can make refinements. I mean, this whole life we're living is all about experimenting, and not every experiment ends up being the absolute perfect solution, or the best result, or whatever. There's some messiness that is part of the accepting the experiences as we go along, and that's okay. So that's one of the ways that you can begin to make sense of everything that you're bombarded with, by being firm in, I'm only going to pick based on what's important to me. So as an example, in my closet, I I don't have a huge wardrobe, because at one point I made a vow that I was not going to buy anything that didn't excite me when I put it on. If I put it on and I fell in love with it and said, oh, wow, this shirt is just, I love this shirt. I love the look of it. I love the feel of it. Yeah, I can see myself wearing this shirt for a while. Then I'll buy it. And of course, the price has to be right too, but that's part of the consideration in my must-haves. Okay, it must be affordable, must be something I fall in love with, and fit nice, and so on. But I want to feel good in it, and so that's what's most important to me. So that when I put it on my closet, every time I take it out, oh yeah, that's a favorite shirt. So that's how I sort things out. Up to that point, I'd settle for things that, they sort of worked, and that's good enough. I don't do that anymore. I don't believe that it's important for me to settle for less than what I really want. And of course, if everything in my closet is something that I absolutely love, then it's not hard to pick what to wear, because, well, I love it all. So just pick one thing. Yeah, okay, I love this, so I'll put this on today. And tomorrow, I'll pick that and put that on today. So it's just that factor of making your path a little clear, clearing away the debris as you go along. Now, the other method I wanted to share with you before we go is kinesiology. So I have come to adopt this particular strategy as a pretty staunch go-to when it comes to making a decision. So if you're not familiar with kinesiology, it's also known as muscle response testing. Our bodies are particularly adept at knowing what is really, really good for us. And so if we pay attention to that, then there's some things that we turn away from because our bodies know it's not good for us. So there's a variety of ways you can learn to do muscle response testing. One of the ways is to determine how you get a yes and how you get a no. And I use the thumb and forefinger technique, where you interlock both hands by making a circle with your thumb and forefinger on each hand and interlocking them. Well, a yes for me is if I attempt to pull my fingers apart. A yes, they won't easily pull apart. They'll stay strong. A no, and they separate quite quickly. So that's one of many ways that you can use muscle response testing. So what I do, for example, if I go into a store and I'm looking at, let's say I'm looking at I've gone in for a particular kind of vitamin, and there are 6 brands on the shelf, varying price points. So I ignore the prices for that moment, and I start muscle testing and just say, will this one work for me? And sometimes I put the product just right up against my chest and interlock my fingers and kind of hold it there and say, okay, will this product work for me? And if it's a yes, then I just set it to the side and I try the next one. And usually there's a few no's in there. No, 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 no. But if there's two competing products, okay, which one's the best? Then I do a number countdown. Okay, which one is the most effective for me, for my body? And then and I start it at 10 and I go 10. And if my fingers go apart, then I go 9. And I just keep going down. Now, if my fingers keep breaking apart down to a 7, if the product registers less than 7 for my body, I don't buy it. Like, no, not that one. And then I take the next one and test it out. Well, I've done this for services as well as products. So you know the hype that you see on your computer screen or on your TV, and they're just out there doing their best to persuade you that this particular thing is going to save your life, guarantee you lose weight, make you the most healthy you've ever been, solve all your hair loss problems, whatever it is. And you go, oh wow. And marketers are good. They draw us in and bombard us with this, oh, these are all the reasons why this would be the best thing for you, and so on. And they could be right. It may absolutely be. It's so interesting to me, though, that every time before I press the buy button, and after, I'll go through their information and say, okay, does that resonate with me? Well, it kind of does. And I wonder how good it really is. And it doesn't matter how good it is. It matters, is it going to work for me personally? Well, so I muscle test. And so far, without exception, everyone I muscle tested was 7 or lower. And I'm going, yeah, well, I'm not willing to spend that amount of money for that particular product because it's not going to enhance my life in any way, shape, or form. Well, so I've done it with products and I've also done it with services. So somebody's offering me a particularly amazing marketing package that, well, you could add this to your business. This will just skyrocket your business by, you can be 6 figures in less than 6 months. And I'm going, yeah, well, maybe. So then I muscle test. And again, I have saved myself thousands of dollars because it didn't test. Have I missed out because I didn't buy it? Maybe. But I'm willing to pay that price rather than just willy-nilly fall into or fall for some grand marketing promotion that in the end is not only not going to give me what's going to move my business forward, but it's going to probably sabotage my financial efforts because it cost me so much money. So there we have it, choices. So next time you feel overwhelmed with the number of choices, it's good to figure out, okay, in what way does it make the most sense for me to pick? And when you sort that out, it will free up some time. It will lower your frustration level. I guarantee it. and and you'll find that you're not so overwhelmed anymore. So there's your little bit of heaven today, is to narrow your choices, focus your attention on what's most important to you, what matters to you, what's in your heart, regardless of the issue on the table or the product or service that you're being offered, and see where that gets you. So play around with that as a little experiment for you. We do a similar thing in the Magnificence Lab when it comes to inviting members to the lab. So what we look for, we've narrowed down all the possibilities that there are in people's um, interest and characteristics and so on. And so here's what we look for. We look for people who are curious, who are open-hearted and open-minded, and who really want to share their important work with the world, whatever that important work is, but they don't want to do it alone. They want to be part of a community like the Magnificence Lab where we support each other in whatever dreams and visions we have for making the world a better place. That's really what we focus on in the Magnificence Lab. So if you're curious at all about that, just go to magnificencelab.org, and we have a variety of bits of information on there. Plus, there's some podcasts you can listen to get a feel for who we are in the lab and whether it's something that would be of interest. And of course, if it's of interest to at least explore further, you can always fill out the application, and we'll be in touch. In the meantime, go be your magnificent selves, and I'll see you next time in the Magnificence Lab. Bye for now.